Hello, welcome to a video on Johann Sebastian Bach's Gavotte in G minor. You hopefully can see me today because we're trying a very high-tech video filter for this to improve the visibility. We're letting in natural light. Now I don't trust natural light, but we're going to go with it and see if it's better. You can tell me afterwards if it was better or if you prefer not being able to see me as I talk, which is probably fair enough as well. So unusually, the first thing I'd like you to do before I play you the piece on the trumpet or the trombone is click on the video link at the top of the description box below. So go down to the description. Right at the beginning is a video link for a beautiful piano version of this piece, and I'd like you to watch the first minute or so to really get a feel for this beautiful melody. Now, I presume you have just paused the video, go on, watch the other one, come back to this video again. Here is a warm-up for this tune for trumpet players in particular. Trombone players, you can adapt this, but it's a little bit trickier because it involves lots of slurring. So I'm going to take the first 5 notes of the tune. I'm going to play them on the trumpet with no tonguing at all. So that means everything is slurred, but even the first note is done just with controlled air and controlled embouchure. To make sure my D and any other C sharp notes, anything that uses third valve, to make sure they're sounding more in tune, my third valve slide is out about 1.5 centimeters, anywhere around there should get you in the ballpark. Have a listen to this. So what we had there, first step is build up the first 5 notes of the piece. No tonguing at all. I started with first note, went to the second, back down, 3 notes up and down, 4 notes. If you've ever been in a choir, you might have sung warm-ups like that. But the goal was to try and get as controlled a sound as possible, even with no tonguing at all. And that should mean, by necessity, that there are no gaps and that you're really thinking about synchronizing your finger changes. Then I added in tonguing on the very first note only, which gives us a big slur up and down. Ta. And then I reversed it, and you can find this pattern at the end of the line. That was down to C sharp. Trombones, this would be your C to B natural, 6, 7, 6, and then I went down to the low B for trumpet. And trombones, that would be down to A in second, 6, 7, 2, 7, 6, and then all the way down to low A for trumpet, which is the low G for trombone, and then adding the tonguing just on the first note. Trombone players, to do this, you would have to tongue, to start out with, you should probably practice just tonguing everything but having no gaps at all, and then turn it into a long slur. Ta da 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 da, and then 4 notes down and up. By the time you've taken a minute or two to do this before playing the piece, you should be really feeling comfortable with smooth flowing sound with no gaps at all. So there's your warm-up that matches this piece. What I love about this piece, and it really struck me listening to the piano version that hopefully you've watched a bit of now. I really love how simple but evocative it is. To me, this piece really sounds a little bit natural. It sounds as if you're out in the wild somewhere. The melody, it comes across like a breeze. It's flowing, it's kind of meandering. It's not trying to grab your attention by smacking you around the face with loud, high, fast playing. It's just taking your thoughts on a bit of a journey. You may not necessarily know where it's going to take your thoughts, but you can relax, you can go with the flow, and you can let that simple, beautiful tune kind of lead you somewhere. Then you have the second section of the piece, which is where kind of the sun comes out. So if the first bit is meandering through the fields on a cloudy day, kind of just pondering life in general or nothing at all, then we hit the B section, Tom, and we're into the major key. So we've started in the relative minor, B section hits the major key, and the sun is coming out. It's still not smacking you around with rainbow, majestic eagle. It's still letting you take it in at your own pace, but there's a definite shift in the feel before it then returns back to kind of that more ponderous, unrushed, cloudy day that it started with. Your version only has the A section, which is the opening in the minor key, and the B section, which is that sunny, clouds are parting major key section. And then you finish again on the A. That's referred to as ternary form. Bach's version, though, and what you would have heard if you listened to the entire piano version below, the whole couple of minutes, is a rondo. And what this means is that you have an A section that you keep coming back to. You then alternate between new materials. So you get to go on a bit of a journey, but you always come back to that starting point. So Bach's version is A section, sun comes out for B section, back to the cloudy A section, sun's out again for a C section, which is basically just another portion of new material, and then he finishes back where he began with that kind of cloudy day A section. Okay, so here is Bach's Gavotte in G minor, but actually in C minor for our seagull scale purposes. Your goals are beautiful, warm, flowing sound. No gaps between the notes because we want it to flow like the breeze. You can do the slurs or you can not do the slurs. Start out without them, then add them in. And if you'd prefer to do 4-note slurs instead of 2, try it, see if you like how it sounds. Most important thing, can we hear the sun come out when you get to bar 19 there where it says più cantabile, a little more singing like. We really want there to be a sense of shift, even though it's not lots of added accents and staccato and exciting things like that. There needs to be a sense that something has shifted there in the tone of the piece. I'm going to leave the repeat out for now because my videos are always mega long. Let's just keep it simple. A section once, B section, A section. Now, in a world where I was a teenager, I didn't have small kids, I didn't have a full-time job, all I had to do was a bit of study, maybe play some sport because it's good for me. Life must be so easy for teenagers. I would take the time to each day go back and reflect on a couple of things that I personally could improve on there. Number one, really work out where I can breathe so as not to break up those flowing phrases. Right at the end there, ta 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 ta. Really, that should all be in one breath, and I need to prepare myself better to do that. Equally, end of line 3. Bom, 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 bom. Practicing bringing out the upper note where you're leaping down to something. This is called pedal point, where you leap from an upper note that outlines a tune. Bom, 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 bom. But you're kind of alternating down to one or two low notes that kind of anchor it. Getting a real distinction between the upper note being nice and clear and the lower note still being audible but not as obvious. Basically, we want not quite an accent because we're not after a particularly bright or strong attack on these notes, but we need the upper note to be a touch louder than the lower note there. I'm going to try and demonstrate that slowly. Once again, I don't have time to practice these days, especially not when we're at home on coronavirus lockdown, but you hopefully do. Though I know you've probably been loaded up with like a million exercises and activities you need to be doing for other subjects. So hopefully you can find some time to practice this. Here it is slowly, end of line 3. And then building up the tempo. And then adding a bit more of the swell, the crescendo and decrescendo. And if that happens, you stop, you go again, and you try and do better. And then when you think you've got it pretty good, you need to keep working until you can do it 3 times in a row perfectly, and then you know that the next day when you come back to it, you're going to be sounding much more like your better version than how you started. There are a bunch of other things I could pick on in my own playing there. You could even, there's an idea. Think of the core things that we talk about in class. That would be smooth airflow, clear tonguing, tense lips where required to get high notes to come out clearly. Think of those things and you could critique my performance. Now I can make all the excuses in the world because I'm like, oh, I don't have time to practice. I've got to record all these videos, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't matter. It's on the internet. So you can hear it. You can provide a critique, and that will also help you consider what will be most helpful in your own playing. Ooh, there's a challenge. All right, so there is your extension work for this one. I'd be interested to know what my score is. I hope I pass. If I get too many harsh critics, maybe I'll have to actually do some practice somehow and then come back and record it again. Oh, this is a good learning experience. All right, thank you for watching. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to hearing your recordings of the first 2 sections of Bach's Gavotte. Watch the piano video. They are awesome. Thank you very much. Bye.